I think just what makes The Innocents just so enduring overall and so special to me, like its key ingredient, is its refusal to declare whether the ghosts, the apparitions, anything are real or projections of Miss Giddens' repressed fears, lust, and her overall desires. As a result, I think the film just exists in a space, this really interesting space between a supernatural horror and a psychological thriller. And I think that's cool because you can watch it the first time and you're like, oh no, ghosts are actually haunting this place and are oppressing this family and this woman, and she's trying to save them. Or you can view it as this fucking broad's out of her goddamn mind. And she's making everyone's life miserable. And I think that's really cool. And I like that it opens up discussion for that. It's awesome. I want to go ahead and I want to review a ghost movie, The Innocents from 1961. As of today, another entry in James Wan's The Conjuring universe is coming out. I think it's like the fourth or fifth mainline Conjuring film. I think it's The Conjuring Last Ride. I believe that's the title. Correct me if I'm wrong. I will see it, and I will review it, but I've just never been overly enthusiastic about the Conjuring universe, the Conjuring series. Not to say that I think, like, every film in the franchise is bad, like, they're all worthless. I like the original Conjuring. We're actually going to be doing a watch party for it. And Annabelle Creation, the prequel to the original film, I think is really fun. Probably my personal favorite of the series. It's just, it's tongue-in-cheek. It's a little goofy. It embraces that. But, I don't know, just so many of the movies, the rest of the films in the series to me are just kind of just mediocre or just really derivative of things that we've seen in the past or honestly just downright bad. The Nun films are awful. The first Annabelle, boring, so boring. I just really dislike a lot of those films. Plus, I don't know. I think James Wan is a bit of an overrated director, especially when it comes to his horror films. I think he's actually more suited for action movies. I really love Furious 7. Matter of fact, it's my favorite Fast and the Furious film, and just everything behind the scenes and the death of Paul Walker. And I mean, he had to deal with a lot. I think he produced a really, really fun action movie. But yeah, I prefer those films. And, I think, a lot of the Conjuring movies, especially the lesser ones, and all the derivative ghost movies of the 2000s and the early 2010s, which I feel like I was inundated with, my generation, and you guys were inundated with, it just all felt like they were doing the exact same thing. And I think it just really negatively colored my view of the ghost subgenre of horror. However, there are, of course, exceptions. Ghost movies and supernatural thrillers that I love. Like, I love the original Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper asterisk. I think Steven Spielberg directed, but I love that film. I think it's great. I love the setting, in the 1980s, America, suburbia, and California. You follow this family. It feels like any family that we either grew up with or we had as neighbors, and they come to be preyed upon by ghosts, by poltergeists. It's a really fun film and one I really enjoy. Guillermo del Toro's The Devil's Backbone is one of my favorite ghost movies. I love the setting in Spain, and and there's so many other things going around in the background. It's a supernatural thriller, but it's also a coming of age story. It's a period piece. I love that. The Sixth Sense is, I think, one of the most important supernatural horror movies of the 1990s and one of the definitive films of that decade. It's, along with Unbreakable, is M. Night Shyamalan's masterpiece. It's great. The Others is a wonderful horror film, supernatural horror film from the early 2000s. Iconic performance by Nicole Kidman. Great performances from the rest of the cast. It's so much atmosphere. It's a technical marvel. There's a great twist, obviously. Much like great twist in The Sixth Sense as well, as I forgot to mention. And then there's also The Innocents. A 1961 supernatural and psychological thriller that I view as one of the most innovative and influential horror films of all time. It's a movie that I might have mentioned a couple of times on stream or in passing, and I recently rewatched it in honor of The Conjuring Last Rite. And I want to talk about it with you guys. And I would actually love to show you a trailer for the movie, but I looked up the trailer, and the trailer does not do the movie justice, like, at all. And I actually implore you to not watch the trailer, because it makes it hokey. It makes it goofy. It's like, you've never seen such horrifying thrills. It's like, no, the movie is, it's not that. You know, it's not like, it doesn't have the same vibe as something like the Universal monster horror marketing. It's not the same thing. I love those movies too, but it's not that. The Innocents was directed by filmmaker Jack Clayton, and it was adapted for the screen by William Archibald and Truman Capote. Yes, that Truman Capote. And it's based on Archibald's stage play and Henry James's novella of The Turn of the Screw, which you might have heard of. And the film essentially follows this governess named Miss Giddens, who is hired to care for these two orphan children in a remote English estate. And throughout the movie, as she grows convinced the children are being corrupted by these malevolent spirits of these former servants, her obsession with protecting them blurs the line between supernatural horror and psychological delusion. Clayton's The Innocents, in my opinion, remains one of the most just haunting and sophisticated ghost stories like ever put to screen in the 1960s. It's elevated, in my opinion, by its artistry as much as it is by its narrative ambiguity. It's the ambiguity that I think makes this movie so special. And Clayton's direction, I think, is deliberately restrained making this movie, creating unease not only just through shocks, but through suggestion. Silence, shadows, great lighting effects. The black and white cinematography for this film, it uses deep focus, a lot of candlelit interiors, but at the same time, these vast negative spaces to evoke just a sense of oppressive emptiness. Turning the manor, Bly Manor, which you might have heard of before, into a character in itself. The sound design is also very good. I think very ahead of its time. Whispers, echoes, eerie silence at times. Just everything just shuts off. And it's just so cool. It's equally crucial for the movie. And obviously, so much of these technical things about this film would be very influential to other filmmakers. Matter of fact, the film, I think, just casts a long shadow over both, in a positive way, over both supernatural horror and psychological thrillers, influencing filmmakers for decades, influencing filmmakers now. It's deliberate ambiguity and just elegant visuals and restrained approach to terror, I think, have just been echoed and borrowed in many later works. Most famously, Alejandro Amenabar's The Others, which I've mentioned before. One of my favorite supernatural horror films, which of course stars Nicole Kidman. It draws heavily on Clayton's use of atmosphere, children as ambiguous, mysterious figures, and also just the interplay of light and shadow to evoke dread. A lot of candlelit spaces. Other filmmakers like Guillermo del Toro have cited The Innocents as a touchstone for how they blend Gothic atmosphere with psychological unease. That DNA is seen in something like Devil's Backbone, which I just mentioned before, which is so great. Another great film. Even Mike Flanagan, who you guys know I'm a big fan of. And if not, I am a big fan of Mike Flanagan. I've loved most of his works. He's the creator of The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. He openly has acknowledged and has cited this film as a major influence for his works on those shows and his other projects. Particularly when it comes to its exploration of people, of grief, of repression, and the uncertainty of is this a haunting or is this a delusion? Is it a hallucination? And even directors outside of the horror genre, like Martin Scorsese, have praised this film as one of his favorite horror movies ever made. But, back to the film itself, at the heart of this movie is Deborah Kerr as Miss Giddens, who was like a seminal actor during this era throughout the 1940s, 50s, and then into the 60s. Obviously, she was huge. Her performance in this is very vulnerable, but at the same time, it's weird and unsettling. She plays this governess with just like a mix of reverent devotion and obvious growing hysteria. Perfectly just embodying this woman kind of like teetering between this blind righteousness and arrogant obsession. Like, she believes this haunting is going on. She thinks these children have something to do with it, and only she can solve the problem. And I think she just does such a great job of bringing the emotions of all of that to life through her erratic behavior. I mean, in the film, she becomes obsessed with Quentin and Miss Jessel. Quentin, who was the former valet, who had a bit of a dark reputation, and Miss Jessel was the former governess. She starts to just see them everywhere, and in really creepy ways that are like very off-putting, presented in such a way that honestly feels like it's ahead of its time. For a movie like released in 1961, like we would start to like some of the scenes and shots is like, that's something that you would probably like see something in the 80s or the 90s. Again, like super, super great work by Jack Clayton. And the child actors too, they do a great job as well. Like Martin Stevens and Pamela Franklin, who play a brother and sister, who are the two orphan kids, who also have an uncle who can give a shit less about them, which is how the movie opens. It's very funny. They give performances that are just really mature, like unnervingly so, especially Stevens. Like, there's like, you can already tell, like, there's something off about this kid. He's a little too intelligent. He's a little too articulate, but he nails it. And it just reinforces the film's disturbing uncertainty about innocence. Are these kids actually corrupt as you know, Miss Giddens says they are? And also, you have some other supporting characters in the film. You have Megs Jenkins, who, funny enough, has played this character multiple times and on stage and various other adaptations of it because it's been reinterpreted over the decades. Her performance, I think, is kind of often overlooked throughout this movie, but she's vital. She's a vital piece of the film's atmosphere and the narrative that it builds. As she plays the housekeeper, Mrs. Gross. Unfortunate last name. But she just provides this grounding presence that I think really contrasts with Kerr's increasingly just erratic character throughout the film. She plays a role with warmth, with, you know, down-to-earth honesty. I think making her both a sympathetic character, but at the same time, like, very mysterious too. You know, she has this like reluctance throughout the movie to speak openly about the estate's dark secrets, about the former servants there and the relationships with the children. And I think it just adds to the film's aura of secrecy and also suppressed horror. And also, I guess it is of the time. Like, you don't talk about those things, you know, even though it was obvious and it just played out in front of their faces. And I think just what makes The Innocents just so enduring overall and so special to me, like its key ingredient, is its refusal to declare whether the ghosts, the apparitions, anything are real or projections of Miss Giddens' repressed fears, lust, and her overall desires. As a result, I think the film just exists in a space, this really interesting space between a supernatural horror and a psychological thriller. And I think that's cool because you can watch it the first time and you're like, oh no, ghosts are actually haunting this place and are oppressing this family and this woman, you know, and she's trying to save them. Or you can view it as this fucking broad's out of her goddamn mind. And she's making everyone's life miserable. And I think that's really cool. And I like that it opens up discussion for that. You know, it's awesome. Is it a ghost story of possession and evil? Or is it a study of a woman who is unraveling under the weight of her imagination and delusion? You know, the director, Clayton, he never answers that. And he leaves us as the audience caught in the same state of unease as the governess herself. This ambiguity, I think, just paired with the film's technical craft. Like, that was, like, I feel like decades ahead of a lot of movies at the time. It really ensures that The Innocents, it remains a genre classic. But also just a fantastic example and execution of cinematic ambiguity. That's what I love about this movie, is how ambiguous it is and how it just leaves so much room open for conversation, discussion, and for debate. Not in a negative way, but in a cool, interesting, passionate way, where it's cool to hear different people's points of view on this film. But yeah, I love this movie. I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I wanted to rewatch it. I wanted to talk about it with you guys. I actually really encourage you to check it out if you want to see something that's like ahead of its time from the 1960s. And yeah, I really do think it's like a masterpiece. And it's one of my favorite ghost movies. And I guess that's why it's one of my favorite ghost movies, because it influenced my other favorite ghost movies, which matter of fact, I'd seen first. I'd seen, like, Guillermo del Toro's Devil's Back, but I'd seen the others, and I was like, oh, they all drew inspiration from this movie, and that's why I have such a connection to it. It's a ghost movie. It's a supernatural thriller. It's a psychological thriller, I think, done right. And so, yeah, I really love this film, and probably one of my favorite movies from the 1960s. But what about you guys? I'm actually very curious. Has anyone seen this movie? It's free on YouTube, by the way. It's because last night I was trying to, like, where is it? I couldn't find it. The whole thing's up on YouTube. So you can watch it that way. It's paced very well. It's like an hour, 40 minutes. Feels, it's nice. It's tight. A lot of great stuff in it. If you have seen it, do you like it as much as I did? Are you more mixed on it? Are you downright hate it? You just don't like those black and white movie pictures? Let me know.
5 minutes later.
What about you, Chad Biggie Smith's like, okay, Grandpa. Oh, come on. It's good. It's really good. It's really, really good. I recommend it. Oh, man. I really like The People Under the Stairs, and of course they're remaking it. Yeah, I know. Jordan Peele's remaking that movie. And I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a good thing. I love the original People Under the Stairs. Great. I think one of Wes Craven's best movies, personally. But yeah, I really recommend this film, guys. It's super interesting. And there's a lot of, the other thing I've neglected to mention, there's some really cool environmental storytelling, and there's things that you will not pick up on your first viewing. And it's like, oh. And it's very revealing about, like, Miss Giddens' character throughout the movie. And it's like, oh, yeah, again, I don't want to say too much, because I want you guys to watch it at some point in your lives, if you choose to. It's really fun. It's really, really fun. Biggie Smith, it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's free on YouTube. Yep. Matter of fact, I'll share the link. The Criterion version, matter of fact. It's the Criterion version. Here, I'll share that with you guys. The Innocents. And there's several movies called The Innocents, but this is the one. This is the 4K enhanced version of the film. There you go. Boom. There's the link right there for you. It's so good. Bishop, 60s and especially 70s are my favorite eras in horror. Somehow this one escaped me. I'll have to fix that during my Halloween. Yes, check it out. Yeah. Do like a ghost week or some one movie each day for the one. Yeah, check it out. I think it'll be perfect. That's perfect for like a 31 days of spoops. That's great. Yeah. I'll be doing some reviews for some other ghost movies this week. I think that'd be fun. I think since, we watched The Conjuring tonight, I'll do like a OG Conjuring review at some point. There's some other movies I've been meaning to get to. I want to do Devil's Backbone. We're going to actually watch that this Friday, along with Ghost, Patrick Swayze's Ghost. So we'll do that. So I think it'll be fun. Damn, looks sharper than most Marvel. It's really good. That's what I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. It's good shit. Yeah. I remember watching parts of Innocence on TV and thinking, so this was a remake by the others, was to do something and didn't fit. Wait, I'm sorry. So this was remaked by the others, was to do something and didn't finish. I'm not. So you just didn't finish the movie. Gotcha. No, well, the others is heavily influenced by this film. You could just see it. And the director of the others is cited like this is a major inspiration for his film. You just look at it and be like, oh, yeah, it's there. It's all there. There's even like shots where it's like, don't feature this in The Haunting, the original version. Yeah, that'd be a nice pairing, actually. Yeah, another seminal ghost movie, haunted house movie. Yep. Good stuff. But yeah, I just want to talk about, I think an underappreciated gem that I think should be remembered and viewed at some point.